Hey, welcome back, guys, to the podcast. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got a first guest. Oh, wait, a second guest.
We're not using that, are we? Are we using that?
No, we're not.
Alright, whatever, let's use it. Hey, it's us again. We got Aiden with us this time.
Hey.
He plays Ryan in our campaign. And what session did we just have?
44, I think.
44. Jesus Christ, 8 more in a year of sessions.
Time flies.
It does fly. Aiden, you play Ryan, a not so Russian but kind of Russian.
Oh, he's pretty Russian.
Super secret spy, Ryan Wilson. Can you tell me why Ryan?
Why Ryan? Well, I mean, this is my sort of first introduction and first encounter with D&D, so it was sort of just me trying to find something that I didn't have to RP as much, so that would sort of fit me a little bit more than having to figure out how to be someone else. If that makes a bit of sense. So it kind of started as a bit of a I just was messing around a little bit. I wasn't taking it too seriously. To me, this was a bit more of a I was just catching up with friends because I hadn't seen you guys for
it was a chill.
years.
Yeah.
So it was like, this is a good opportunity. Have a bit of fun with it. So it started off as a bit of a fun joke, I suppose.
A meme.
Until I got into it.
Yeah, it's not a joke anymore. We're serious here. We play games. But why Ryan Reynolds?
Look, I mean, what was he, like 2005's most sexiest man or something like that?
Okay. You're trying to embody that spirit.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be Ryan Reynolds, right?
That's true. You just take every opportunity you can to
Yeah.
roleplay as him.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you ever actually try to like roleplay as Ryan Reynolds, or was it just the face?
No, it's just the face.
Well, not his body, but not his personality. I got you.
No, not as charismatic as Ryan Reynolds. Deadpool, come on.
No, nobody is.
Can't compete with that.
Nobody is.
Break fourth wall. No, not happening.
So when you were choosing your character, and you went with double crossbow man, what was the idea behind that? Why?
Again, I honestly don't know. So it was just a bit of like research, I suppose, looking up,
Cool builds, what people had used, what people had enjoyed, what would be easy to start off with as a new player, and came across a bunch of different things, like a bunch of barbarian builds and just like high damage. Nothing magical, because I think it's a little bit too complicated for first timers, but came across that, liked the look of it, liked the sound of it, sounded cool. I'm like, yeah, that Ryan Reynolds would do that. And it is high damage.
Yeah,
it is high. What's your mod on attacks now?
On attacks plus 13.
Oh, that's 13. Jesus Christ.
Damn.
Can't go under 14. Wow.
No.
What the hell? So recently, you decided to kind of switch it up after hearing us talk about Ryan in a different podcast.
Yeah. So I'd been thinking about it for a while because I'd slowly been getting into it. I'd sort of started to introduce a voice and try and roleplay a little bit more. And then you started the podcast, listened to the podcast. It sort of gave me the kick up the arse that I needed to do something a bit more about it.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't just you. I think mostly everyone, decided to switch things up a little bit. When they heard the podcast, so yeah, it's not we don't target people. Well, we do, but we don't target just
people.
one person.
Well, you didn't target too many people last week. It was pretty light on the bombs, as you would say.
We went in on Tokul, right?
Not heavily.
No, we didn't actually. Yeah, last week wasn't too bad. There weren't too many complaints last week, although. Even if we trash Tokul, I spoke to him the other day.
Really?
And I was like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? You're gonna defend yourself? And he's like, nah, I'm just gonna sit here and take it.
Well, that's him as a player, not as a character.
So I guess, is there any kind of bombs you want to drop this podcast?
I'm sure something.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll come up through the recap. Something will tickle my fancy.
Do you have any bombs in general against the DM or other players?
Yeah, let us know.
No, I mean, like I said, it's my first real campaign, so I don't have anything to really compare it to.
Yeah, me
so...
too. Me too.
Well,
I'm still shitting on everybody.
It's technically ours as well. Well, it is ours as well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of shit to throw at people. So,
Yeah. But what did I come in on session 30 or something like that?
Yeah, it was pretty deep in.
There was a lot of history behind you guys and how long you'd been doing it by the time I jumped in, and you'd done one shots and stuff previously, so you'd gotten an idea of how everyone else was gonna DM and play. And
well, that is true. I remember complaining after the first couple of sessions. So, I mean, it's never too early to start.
Yeah, never too late either. So when you joined our campaign, Aiden, did you think, was this what you were expecting as in like D&D, or were you expecting something completely different?
Well, kind of, sort of. I was re-listening to a podcast. I think it was like 3 or 4. Like it might not have been last one, but where Kevin was talking about people that just come in and just want to roll dice, and that was kind of what I was expecting. I was just expecting you just roll dice here, left, right, center. That was like the guts of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got in, and it was a lot of role playing, and I was a bit taken aback. So I don't know if you remember the first couple of sessions where I was super quiet. I didn't do much at all. I was kind of resistant to the whole role playing thing because that's not what I was expecting initially. So it did take me a while to warm up, I think, and get into that.
I think you didn't have a session 0. I think everyone after Lewis didn't have a proper session 0.
Yes.
So obviously you don't really know what to expect, and yeah, that's because session 0 basically, if I don't know if you know what that is basically the session before the very first session of the campaign, and it's supposed to like discuss like expectations or what people want. Like, do people want more combat? Do they want more role play? Do they want to be like just a chill campaign, not too serious, not too much drama, or do they want to like make it super serious? You know, what tone do they want to go for? That sort of thing. And then like discussing like rules and stuff, like what rules people like, what rules people don't like, and stuff like that, and stuff like stuff you shouldn't do, like, you know, obviously don't be an asshole, or like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that clears up in session 0, and jumping in halfway through, we kind of don't do those for new players. They just get stuck in, basically.
To be fair, I did do a session 0 for the party of 6. This was before Maple joined.
Just after Oasis.
Yeah. Do you remember that, Kevin?
How long ago was that? Was that earlier this year?
That was when we it might have been 1 or 2 sessions into doing it online initially in lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it like we like spoke after the session, or we just...
No, this was at the start of the session. It took like an hour,
yeah,
I think.
Took a while.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think rings a bell. I do remember something.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember it in detail.
If anyone should be confused, it's probably Maple, because we haven't run him through the session 0 stuff. Although I did link him it.
I think he was already pretty experienced, so he managed to get the hang of it. And I think he kind of likes the style that we do anyway.
God, I hope
Hopefully.
so. I mean, I think he went in with similar expectations to Aiden here, where it was more combat based, because he did talk about wanting to change his spells, right?
Yeah, that was...
I mean, he's... I don't think he wasn't expecting role plays. He was just expecting more combat. But I think, on average, we actually have way less combat than probably the average group.
Yeah.
But I think it used to be, when we started out, it was like, oh, we got to have a combat encounter every session, at least one, no matter how small. And we kind of have relaxed that a fair bit now.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Aiden? Less combat?
I mean, now that I'm warming up to the RP side of things, I'm fine with it. But like I said, when I first started, that's what I was expecting. That was what I wanted to do. That was like, I just want to shoot shit. And then there was no shooting shit. So I was like,
Now you're just shooting shit with the gang.
yeah, that's right. Shooting words.
Shooting words. Calling people lizard men. Speaking of that, Kevin, do you want to do the recap this time? Or Aiden, do you want to do it?
Yeah, let's get the guest to do it. We
Ooh,
got the
okay.
guest to do it last time. We get the guest to do it this time.
Okay, running theme, I got you.
Pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I decided to switch it up and write the recap as we went. So that's why it came up so fast after the session.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wrote it literally as the session
we were going,
ended.
yeah. So we started the session in the Artificer's house.
Yeah, house/lab thing.
Lab, yeah. Where we started off pretty red hot with Snow grabbing the plans back for Kragan's arm. And having a bit of an argument straight off the bat with Body Knock.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that Body Knock doesn't work with money, works off favors, and that we have to do him a favor in order for him to build us what we want. I think what he wanted. He wanted us to find his daughter,
Yeah,
who had mysteriously disappeared on him, which I think we decided, well, non-canonically, but decided that he's just a shit dad and she just ran away from him. Because he seems a bit distant, I think.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I mean, he's not all there.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Don't really blame her for running away, I'm not going to lie.
Damn. Do you think you could have handled that better? Because I remember, I think it was Ryan who was like, Snow, chill with calling this guy like a shitty dad or whatever.
Well, it was Snow and Storm were just like ganging up on him. Storm started off pretty like diplomatic and like, where did she go? What did she do? Like, do you have any leads? And then when he didn't have any leads, he just was dangling a picture of his daughter in front of him.
You get what you give, and we certainly gave back what he gave to us. So
yeah, I mean,
I feel it's justified.
If he doesn't have any information, you can't drag information out of him. It's not there.
But it feels good
Well,
doing it.
There could be the case that Body Knock is actually not being totally honest with us, but it could also be the case that he's just fucking crazy, which he is, probably, most likely.
Maybe.
I mean, he didn't even seem that fussed about getting his daughter back. Like super distant with his daughter. He just wanted someone working there, and that's what his daughter was doing, working.
Do you think you robbed Storm when he rolled a nat 20 and he rolled a 19?
He was so dirty.
He seems so angry at that.
I felt bad. I was like, oh, that's a nat 20. Like, I got to roll a nat 20 to beat this. And then
What's the context?
When he was holding a picture. So Storm was dangling Body Knock's picture of his daughter in front of him. And I went to grab it to give it back to him, and Storm resisted. So we rolled, was it just straight dex?
Yeah, dex, I think. It was straight dex.
Dex competition, and Storm rolled a natural 20, and I rolled a 19, but because my dex modifier was two points higher, I think it was.
Yeah.
Then I beat him in the dex comp, even though he got a natural 20.
Yeah,
so I kind of robbed him hard.
Yeah. He's like, but my natural 20! Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, I did feel bad about that. I didn't think you were going to allow that. I was fully expecting it to just not happen.
I think for ability checks, the natural 20 doesn't actually matter that much. It's more for combat, where you get crits, because I think we discussed this in session 0, where 20s and 1s on ability checks don't allow you to do... They're not critical successes or critical failures. They just kind of suck, or they're great.
Yeah. They're more just numbers, because all that matters in the end is the total, not the actual roll that you get.
Yeah. I mean, in my head canon, these two are having this like fast pace, faster than your eyes can move fight where they're trying to grab the thing off each other and like darting around the room and zipping around. But yeah, I think Ryan deserved that. He's already more dexterous than the average person anyway, so.
More dexterous than the tabaxi.
Yeah, Faxi Bard, so he uses his words, not his feet.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah. I don't know. I did feel quite bad about that, though, in all honesty.
I didn't.
So we then decided. Well, I mean, Eisen decided that she wanted to find a way to build an airship that could go anywhere, not just over sand. So we've commissioned the artificer, I suppose, to build that, as long as we can get a huge ass crystal of, what is it, obsidian?
Obsidian.
Do you want to run me through what what was going through your mind when you came up with that name?
So, obsidian. So I'm gonna go into a little bit of a lore dig here. So there's this crystal that's scattered around all the sands, and the gnomes were the first ones to kind of figure out how to use it and how to utilize it. So they got first rights to name it. And you know gnomes, they're fucking crazy, so they're like, let's call it obsidian. Everyone else doesn't call it obsidian. Everyone else just calls it celestium. So like, you know, crystals from the gods or whatever. But gnomes being gnomes, they're like, alright, it's obsidian. We know how to do it. We figured it out, so officially it's obsidian, but nobody calls it that.
Right.
So yeah, it's a gnome thing.
Just when you deal with gnomes, it's obsidian.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then further context why she asked for an airship that specifically can go further than the sands is because apparently only the airships that we see in Huria only work in the desert, probably because of some special, you know, electromagnetic field from all the other crystals interacting with the crystal in the ship. So if you go outside the desert, it stops working apparently. So
Yeah. I mean, in my head, it's always like the sand is like a magnet, and the crystal, when you activate it, is like kind of like the reverse, like the opposite pole. So when it's activated, they just kind of move away from each other, which causes the floating or whatnot. In my head, at least. You guys haven't figured that out yet in character. It'll happen eventually.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Well, next time you fly a ship.
Fly it away from sand and see what happens.
Just straight down.
So it's not like a sudden drop. It does.
Yeah, I'd say.
So it's not like you go over grass or something. It just hits the ground.
I'd say no, because I guess the sand content kind of lessens at a gradual pace as you move past the desert. So it'd be more of like a gradual slide into a crash. It'd still probably kill you, but yeah.
Fair enough. And then we also commissioned, or Storm commissioned, Dragon's Breath device.
Why?
Either
Either of you know why?
Your guess is as good as mine.
no, there's always got to be some stupid thing that Storm asks for, or anyone really. I thought you guys were going to ask for the voice box, but I think like in an earlier session you said that Albert said that might not be possible.
The session
like that.
before, I did ask about it with as Ryan, and was informed by Albert that there was nothing around that sort of had that appearance to it. So he hadn't done anything like that with any goblins or any animal for that matter, as far as I believe.
Yeah, I mean you could have still asked him though, and see what happens.
Yeah.
So maybe he'd be like, okay, sounds interesting. Maybe he just told you to get out. Who knows?
I feel like he would have just told us.
Yeah, he probably would have told you to get out.
He told us to get out as soon as we were done with Kragan's arm.
It's a busy man. Busy man.
And then
Busy smoking crack.
smoking spice.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Oh hell yeah, we'll get to that.
And then the party, being at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, decided to camp out outside Bodynock's lab, or a little bit further away from Bodynock's lab, around near the forest.
Yeah.
Eisen, not needing to really sleep, decided that she would just head back into town. And what was she doing? She was encoding her thoughts.
Yeah. It's the first time I've ever seen that spell in my life.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what was happening there until after the fact, where player sort of explained it,
yeah,
where it was
yeah.
like, you know, pulling thoughts out and regathering them so they're clearer. Is that?
I think so.
No,
Yeah, it's like
No, apparently there's a lot of Eisen's planning a lot of background stuff, and basically, I was talking to the player after the session, and basically they said that there's some sister, the Eisen has sisters, right, that are in a refuge in some mountain somewhere, and basically it's like they're doing like a knowledge transfer, uploading data to the network, because Eisen's like a robot, and that's just something they do, right? But she's trying to, like, Eisen's whole shtick is that she's trying to get energy so she can boot up her sisters again. And that's why she's always asking for, or not so much anymore, but that's why she used to ask for, like, if relics had magical energy in them so she could suck the power out of them.
Huh. I don't know anything about Eisen's backstory at all.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
She doesn't explicitly say any of that, which is probably a good reason to start prying into that. We got to see some of it later in the session. I think shortly after we make camp, there's like a scene there. Oh no, it's actually this part, right?
Yeah.
After she encodes the thoughts, what'd she do?
She sent the thoughts and the plans that she had memorized from the artificer to her sister, like a knowledge dump transfer, and then proceeded to cast the spell Dream on Lucian, was it?
Lucius,
who is in the capital at the moment.
were you around when Lucius was in the party? You were, right?
That was
The
his
very
first
end.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his first session.
Was it the first session where
Yeah.
Lucius got kicked, like, booted out, or like sent away?
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, I joined as you handed him back to some noble who was like, oh yeah, he's meant to be king.
He's a candidate for king. Yeah.
Just context for Aiden. Basically, Lucius was this kid we picked up in a mountain somewhere amongst some refugees, I think.
Yeah.
And the thing with this kid is when he bled, his blood was blue instead of red. So he was a human boy, but he bled blue blood. And what we came to find out was that he's actually an heir to the Denetharian throne. So eventually we had to actually give him back to the royal family, so he could take over and be trained up to be king in the end. Which is kind of the context of what Eisen's conversation with Lucius was.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Eisen has a pretty deep personal relationship with the kid, with Lucius, because they were like together 24/7 before everything happened. So yeah, it was kind of fun picking him up again. Speaking on that, were you guys chill with that? Because there was a scene right after where Eisen kind of infiltrates Lucius's dreams and they talk for a while, and that went for maybe 10-15 minutes or something along those lines. Were you guys okay with just us, like me and Eisen's character, Eisen's player, just kind of chatting for that amount of time?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I mean, I always find it interesting when Eisen's player RPs, because he always comes up with some crazy ideas that I don't ever think of. So I always enjoy watching the player RP that way. So
Yeah.
I was fine with it.
I kind of hope that there's actually more than that, because I think dreams and stuff like that and visions are a really good way to explore a character's backstory without the character having to, like, forcefully, spew it out to the other characters in dialogue. You can just explore. You can have the other players experience the backstory introspectively inside the character themselves. So at least, like, for the players' fulfillment of the character, they get to see, even if their characters don't really know.
Yeah. So in the end,
It's just
the
so the
characters
players
still
know
don't
there's, it's just so the players know there's more behind the character than what meets the eye.
Do you think the party would benefit from Eisen opening up more to the party itself?
It really just depends on what Aizen thinks is best for herself. It's a really subjective question, but I think, in my personal opinion, a lot of her objectives are like big detours from what we're doing right now. And I was talking to the player again, and I was talking about the current arcs that are going on at the moment. So we've got Oasis's arc in the forefront, and then we have the start of Storm's arc, or another personal arc for Storm, which we'll get to later, which started last session. And then I don't think anyone else has an arc going, or their arc is like kind of at a plateau right now until something else happens. I know Snow had a lot of personal arcs within Trident, which have wrapped up mostly. Ryan kind of has something brewing in the background with like his past with the Eubanians and things like that, and you know, their presence outside of Eubania. But again, that's not like a fully wrapped up arc that might come back later. Tokul has had a big personal arc in Trident as well, which is mostly wrapped up, but then he's got a few things here and there in Hurrier, namely with the mercenaries. Maple, I'd say since he's just the most recent addition, we haven't had a chance to really explore much with him. I think the only thing we really have is like the letters that he got, and even then he didn't really tell the other party members about what were in those letters at all, or maybe he forgot about the letters. Could be either or. Am I missing anyone? That's it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, Aizen's is also like a background arc that might come up later, and that just kind of happens here and there, but it's definitely not as big as Oasis, which is like she's trying to avoid getting hunted down in this town that has a huge bounty on her head.
I mean, yeah, I commend her RP, Oasis's RP, but I think it's taking away from like her enjoyment, like what she can actually do, because she's spending most of her time like away from the party, or in disguise, or as a cockroach or whatever. So she doesn't have the opportunity to participate in as much of these shenanigans as she could have. Do you think that's an issue, or do you think it's like, oh yeah, it's what she would do though?
I did have that thought on the way home yesterday, where I realized that she didn't participate in much of today, and she was very quiet for the good majority of it. But I think at the time she said that she was fine with it. That was what she felt that Oasis would do, and that's what she wanted to do. So I think she was fine with it.
Okay. I mean, if she's fine with it, then that's cool.
I think the circumstances make sense, but I think if you wanted to involve her more, you could play more into the bounty aspect of why she's hiding. You know, have people actively
it's common,
ask questions and stuff like that. So you can still have that make sense, but then she can be more involved because there's stuff happening in regards to that.
Yeah, I think there's this weird like dichotomy between wanting to RP as your character and wanting to have fun as a player. And I think Snow in particular crosses this line often, because he does a lot of shit that Snow usually wouldn't do just because it's fun. Cause I don't know if Snow would have gone with the drugs if later on, like in as a character, or at least he wouldn't have done as much dumb shit, but it's fun as a player to do it, so you do it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I actually said as much after the session. But yeah, sometimes it's just better to try and break the mold of your own character a little bit and kind of see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what works and what doesn't work. And I think I'm in that period where I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea who he is. I just want to see if I can, find out more about, like try and make it more three-dimensional instead of just a quiet, edgy boy with a gruff voice.
Okay. Speaking on character arcs real quick, Are you guys okay with having like 7 different character arcs going on at once, or do you guys want to just hone in on like one thing and just focus on that?
Ooh.
I think it's perfectly fine to have simultaneous arcs. I mean, as I was saying, there's only really one arc that's like in super focus, and then you can have a lot of like subplots and, you know, minor arcs going at the same time. Because if we were just focusing on one thing at a time, one, that would probably break my immersion, because it would feel like stuff is happening in a vacuum, in isolation, when it wouldn't happen that way. There would be multiple things happening at the same time. That isn't to say that we should be, you know, spending equal time in each arc, you know, just to give players spotlight. But I think, yeah, focusing on one thing and one thing only is probably not what I would prefer.
Yeah, I mean, in real life, people are gonna develop like simultaneously. You're not gonna have one person do one thing and then another person do something straight after. It's gonna be at the same time. Events are gonna shape and mold everyone at the same time.
Okay, so you're saying you guys would prefer realism over like faster development, because at this rate, it's gonna take, like, sessions are gonna slow down even more if more character arcs are introduced. Are you guys okay with that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I think the pace that we're going is fine, honestly. They slow down when you increase the players anyway, and I don't think there's much help in that. And even if you wanted to speedrun arcs one at a time, I think just because players just want to do their own things sometimes, it's probably not going to be very practical either, trying to do that. And you might do the opposite effect. You might actually slow down a lot more if you try and focus on one thing, because you're constantly having to try and pull players back into a single arc, and that might not be fun for the other players, because, you know, they want to do some other stuff sometimes. I think we even like experienced a bit of that, because we had some players ask about downtime after the podcast, right? After we touched upon it last podcast. And obviously we're deep into this Oasis arc and like the, you know, councils and exploring her visions and stuff like that. But then again, the players also wanted to just like have a breather, you know what I mean? And that's what this whole session was kind of fulfilling.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with that. Where people, we have had a lot of high-paced, high-octane sessions the past couple weeks, and everyone was, I think, a little bit tired, worn out, drained, and they just wanted to have a bit of downtime, just to recenter and refocus and set themselves right, I suppose. That's what I feel.
Of fun.
Anyway. Yeah,
Like taking drugs in the middle of a populated city.
Hey, we're in an alley. It's fine.
Sure. Sorry. Should we go? We should continue with the recap.
Yes.
Let's go.
So after all that, we woke up in the morning and headed back to the city. We had a quick. Ryan and Storm had a quick discussion about the future of Strongjaw. And whether he would be safer away from the party, working in some, I don't know, some college or bar. We discussed the Bard College. I originally had like orphanage in mind, which is where
that's why you asked, right?
That question came from before the session. But Strongjaw seemed very against leaving the party.
He likes you guys.
Yeah. So I don't know. As Ryan, I was feeling like he's in a fair bit of danger. Like we had that vision where he had died, and I feel like Ryan and Strongjaw are quite close, and that hit Ryan pretty hard in that future version. So I feel like he wants that to not happen.
He wants
as
to
much
avoid
as possible.
Yeah.
And the most logical way to do that is to have him away from the party, away from danger.
Yeah. I really like the dynamic between like Storm, Ryan, and Strongjaw. They're like doting parents to this goblin, who would probably be like an adult in goblin years. But yeah, I don't. He likes you guys, right? And I don't like, as a child, you wouldn't want to leave your parents, right? Like, even if they say it's for like the good of you, you still don't want to leave, right? So I think his intentions are very clear. Whether or not that's going to get him killed later on, who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But I think he seems to be doing okay right now.
Yeah. I mean, as long as, yeah. I mean, we can teach him to slowly, I suppose, defend himself. Which we apparently found out that he used to be able to do quite successfully, being a part of a raiding party that he was kicked out of. But when we tested him, he did not seem particularly competent.
Don't want to hurt the animals.
Yeah, for a bit of context, Storm gave Strongjaw a stick, and then ran at him with a bigger stick, and basically just destroyed him with this stick. It was not pretty. It was not very faith-inducing, but that's what happened.
That's the road we're going down.
That's got an incompetent fighter as a goblin.
Yeah.
But I'm sure hopefully he'll be fine. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I like the full circle we went with Strongjaw. How you find out after that the reason why he liked taking care of Blackie and Whitey so much was that he loved animals in the first place. And when that clicked for you guys, you were like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Oh, this is working." I don't know. That was a good moment for me.
Yeah, and then we were like, "You can take care of animals here." He's like, "Nah, no good. Take care of your animals and your animals only."
Yeah. I mean, I love playing Strongjaw because you're literally just playing charades. You're playing charades, and the party just has to figure it out, and it's fun. It's good times.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
So after that, we head back to the gate of the main city, and we come across I think it was three paladins at the gate that were scanning everyone coming into the city. So it was Oasis and Storm, knowing that Storm's in a bit of a predicament with demons at the moment, and Oasis being particularly wanted in the city, decided to do a full 360 and disappear for a little bit, while Ryan and Snow headed in and just got scanned and entered the city, no problems, no questions asked. It was at this point that I think Oasis came up with the idea that she wanted to turn into a cockroach, and she wanted Storm to turn into a cockroach, which Storm was not happy about. The filthy creatures, apparently, that...
I mean, he's not wrong.
You had all the tests towards that idea and decided to instead scale a wall, which, you know,
yeah, as
a tabaxi makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Ryan and Snow, they're just like, all right, let's go, let's just go through. They had nothing to worry about. Maple was a little on edge.
Maple was going to turn into Alduin. I haven't actually met him.
Adwarren.
Yeah. I haven't met him, so
yeah, that's right. Yeah, the headmaster of the college.
Yeah, Maple wanted to turn to Adwarren and think that would get him some status and
some points.
Didn't he just walk through as well?
Yes.
Yeah, he ended up just walking through. Yeah, same with Tokul as well. Yeah, and so those two go through, and I think you guys stick around, right?
Yeah, Tokul and Ryan stuck around to eavesdrop and see if we could gather any information, which what did we just figure out? That they were looking for someone who was possessed by demons.
Something along those lines, yeah.
We immediately were like, that's Storm. They're 100% looking for Storm. That's a thing. So Ryan tried to convince Tokul to go have a chat with them, and Tokul was like, yeah, and then just walked off.
I don't really get why that happened either, honestly.
I think it's part of Tokul's character, I think, where he hears, but he doesn't listen.
Not listening. There's this mental disconnect between his actions
like,
and...
It goes in one ear but it doesn't go into the brain. It's just straight out the other side. So
Which I love, by the way. It's so him.
So that's happened a few times since I've been a part of the party, where Tokel's been hearing you but just doesn't listen in the slightest and does something completely different.
Yeah, that's him though.
Yeah, which is why Ryan was like, just don't mention Storm. Don't mention Storm. So eventually Tokel goes and has a chat to him and finds out that they're worshippers of Uriel, the goddess of the dawn. And there's a bit of backstory with that group from another session, isn't there?
They did appear in a one-shot once where they completely obliterated Tokel's other character, Tokel's player's character, because she was also possessed by a demon and she got smote into smithereens. And that was so fun doing. Yeah, they're this very fanatical, not dictatorship, but they just kind of run around scanning people, killing demons, whoever, paladin stuff. And when Tokel was talking to that one paladin, he was talking to who we find out later is Thunder, which is Storm's brother. And I was putting on the accent, and I said that he had a tail, and as soon as I started talking, I looked over to Lewis, and Lewis was like, oh. He connected the dots like instantly, and that was fun to do.
Yeah, I think hearing that, I thought it was that you just made it canon that all Tabaxi have a Boston accent.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah.
So that was the only dots that I connected. But
he's got a tail and he speaks in Bostonian.
Tabaxi, for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think Tokel actually got any real information out of that guy.
No,
he just told him to walk away.
They were pretty tight-lipped.
Yeah. They go to their job.
Yeah,
kind of
smoting people.
Yeah, smoting people.
So while that's all happening, the rest of the party head to the post office to post various letters that had been written from days past. And then we head to the entertainment district, which is where the real fun begins.
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
So I think Storm from the get-go just wanted to visit the Bard College. Like, that was goal number 1 for Lewis this session: visit the Bard College. I don't know how the spice came up. I think it was Snow actually, who we were talking about gambling and the Bard College, and Snow was like, I want to do some spice. Like, out of the blue. Just spice. Let's do it.
Yeah. So spice is a drug that we just ripped from Critical Role, and I think
Dune.
prior to the session, we kind of memed about taking spice, and initially Albert was like, "That's not canon. We're not doing Critical Role," but then we made it canon, and then we did spice this session. So
through sheer power of will, you forced the DM to create a drug that didn't previously exist. Canon.
I did mention that, maybe there'd be like some sweet desert drugs in the entertainment.
And I said yes, there are sweet desert drugs. I said there was no spice though.
Oh, now there's some proper sweet desert drug.
Now they're the same thing. Thank you.
I forced your hand there a little bit, I think. Yeah.
Just a bit. I was fine with it though.
So, what did we decide? There were three different types of spice.
3 flavors.
3 flavors. There was
That we know of.
True. So there was orange, which is mellow spice, which we liken to marijuana, I believe.
Yes.
Blue spice, which was nicknamed Rush,
Rush,
which we liken to cocaine.
Mhm.
Or what did you have in mind for that? It's like the comparison.
Yeah, I'd say cocaine. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I've never tried cocaine, so I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I've never tried any of them,
Yeah.
so
So I don't know. So I don't know if that experience was the exact same, but it was what I had in my head. So I don't know.
From secondhand accounts of secondhand accounts.
Secondhand accounts of other people.
I think the purple one is just like a catch-all for all psychedelics. which I haven't tried either. So you just hallucinate a lot.
Yeah.
So
She goes wild.
So we Storm and Ryan decided to give the blue one a crack and see what happened. And I think you made us roll Constitution saving throws for this
Yes.
to determine how hard it hit us.
Yes.
Storm rolled rather low, so it was
Like a 5 or a 6.
yeah 5 or 6 I think,
Mhm.
and so it was hit pretty hard by the substance.
he took the blue, I think.
Yeah,
I think Ryan and Storm took the blue.
Yes.
yeah. So Ryan rolled a little bit higher. I think it was like 23 or something. So not much effect.
It's a roll you want to fail.
So that was all right. And then Snow decided to give the purple one a crack. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
I don't know what went through your mind when you wanted to do that, but
Oh, I just wanted to see crazy shit as a player.
you saw some crazy shit.
But apparently not enough crazy shit, right?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this after the session, and I was like, oh, we should say this for podcast. But I mentioned it just very briefly that I get that Albert wasn't fully prepared. Were you prepared to have do a drug session?
I was prepared for drug session. I wasn't prepared for psychedelic drug session. I had a list of drugs that actually give that stat
You
bonuses.
fucked up.
Like
Yep.
like Rush literally increases your move speed by 15, and it makes you immune to exhaustion. So they have mechanical benefits. The others haven't been mentioned yet, so I don't really go into them. But I didn't have anything for psychedelic, so I was like, alright, I gotta wing this one.
Man, how do you do drugs and not have the ones that make you hallucinate? That's like the staple, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
that's
when I think
that's the first
drugs,
thing.
I think like Fallout drugs. Like we mentioned this yesterday.
Oh, like medicine, right?
yeah, like steroids or like adrenaline boosts and stuff like that. That's what I was going for with drugs. So
Short-term stat bonuses for long-term addiction.
yes, there was going to be addiction rolls, which we'll go into next session.
But yeah, going into my critique. So obviously, Albert wasn't prepared for it. So understandable. It's just something I probably would something to work on for later. Is like in terms of psychedelic drugs, and this also plays back into what I spoke of earlier about exploring a character's backstory and personality through these visions and things like that. You have psychedelic things, and you see all this crazy shit, but you also see like crazy shit that's related to the character. And I think we were like almost in the right direction. So basically, to sum up Snow's trip, like he was seeing all your bog standard crazy shit, like weird shapes, people morphing into inanimate objects morphing into people. I think we walked by Stokul, and I hallucinated that he was his ancestral weapon that he had been looking for this whole time, when it was really just Tokul, and Aizen became this giant block that shot into the sky. And then, we get to the casino, trip a bit more, and finally, close to the end, I see a white deer, which I think was a good symbolic thing, but it was very,
Yes.
very brief. And then the trip ended after that, after Storm cast Lesser Restoration on Snow to bring him out of the high.
Yeah, I'm
But
not
yeah,
the
I
one who
think-
took you out of the eye. It was your party members, so you should blame them.
Oh no, not that I blame them for ending it, but I think what I was getting at is that I think I'll just say what I said last night, which was, we could make stuff crazy, or we could build a better experience, with the DM and the player working together. Because I think you were just handing it off to me, and I was just shooting out just whatever came to mind.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, until the end.
Yeah, until the end there. So, but yeah, just something to work on next time. Not really. I wasn't unhappy. I actually I thought it was fun, but yeah, could have been more. Could have been more.
Can I just express my stress when Storm was trying to cast Lesser Restoration on Ryan when he was high, and you made him roll a random spell. I was expecting to be dead. But he somehow managed to...
How? I don't know how. I wasn't
don't
expecting
know
that.
either.
So context-wise, every time a character is, what's the word? Under the influence of some sort of drug, if they're drunk or if they're high or whatever, and they try to cast a spell, I tell them to, well, sometimes, in this specific scenario, I told Storm to count how many spells he had on his spell list, roll a d20, and then just pick a number that corresponds to whatever spell is in that order. And he wanted to cast Lesser Restoration, which was 10, the 10th one down. And he somehow rolls a 10 on the d20 to cast the correct spell. I was really hoping for something wild to happen, not gonna lie here.
I was expecting meteors.
I'm healing you! As he's like killing you on the ground. That would have been great. That would have been fun.
Oh, so fun.
I mean, he almost killed himself by animating like a dragon statue. But yeah, I mean, I think like that's not in the rules at all, but I think that's just a fun thing to have.
Yeah, it makes doing anything like that a little bit more risky. You can't just, get drunk and go do something without any consequences.
Yeah.
There's actual, there's something you have to think about, some effect that you have to
like a mechanical
be concerned
disadvantage.
about. Yeah. So like, the first time you introduced that was with the Tokal and Storm's drunkard
burning down the herb store.
Yeah. So that, I think that was, like, back then it was quite like very funny to watch as well, because Storm was trying to cast he was trying to cast conjure animals, and wanted to conjure something that could destroy the entire place, but instead just ended up conjuring 12 crabs that just could snip everything up to ankle height, and that was about it.
Yep.
That was fun.
So that was a pretty funny conclusion to the first time you introduced that, I think. So it was good to see that come back and that mechanic return.
Yeah. Recurring themes.
Yeah. So after that, Snow on his trip disappeared, and we had to go look for him for a little bit. Ryan thought he was outside, but he disappeared into the casino. So Ryan's wandering around outside, calling out Snow's name, not getting very far with it. And returns, and then we do a little bit of gambling, a little bit of, what was the first game you played? It was just like,
it didn't. I don't think it had a name, but it's just you roll 2d6. You either have to hit a total of 7 or 12. And if you don't, you can add an extra dice, but you have to double your bet. Pretty much.
Did you make that up?
No, that's actually a game. I think that's an old school game, and they also used it in Critical Role in one of their sessions, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I heard that. And I was in my head, and it was Ryan. I was like, that's shit odds. That's
not worth
the 20 tokens that we were spending.
Yeah, 20 chips.
20 chips, yeah. Meanwhile, Strongjaw, the little beast, was just making bank on all of this. I don't even know how he came up with 15 gold. I don't think he had 15 gold.
I'm pretty sure you guys gave him a cut at some point, and he's been hoarding his money.
We probably would have.
Yeah.
As goblins do, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he ended up with, like, I think he tripled his money.
Yeah, 300. 300 talents.
Pretty solid on a very, very, very luck-based game.
It's a good goblin. He's got to be good at something, I guess.
Yeah, can't hold a sword, but he can roll dice.
Damn right he can. Oh man.
And then what was next on? Liar's Dice.
Ooh.
Which was...
It was confusing for some players.
Yeah.
Some players. Snow.
Okay, I got it after the second round, but I just got confused about where the round was starting, so that's why I screwed up the second time.
Yeah, you pulled the token.
I thought it went back to me, so that's why I said 1-1s but it just went back to Ryan. Yeah, I probably wasn't paying enough attention.
You
about
did the
the
I
thing.
understand the rules now, and then you say something completely wrong.
You were hearing us, but you weren't listening to us.
Nope. But we did manage to finish 2 rounds, 1 round of it.
We finished 3 because we eliminated Maple,
Oh, right,
then
yeah.
Snow, then I eliminated Storm.
Yeah, and you walked away with 40?
Yeah, 30.
40 talents?
I net 30.
Net 30. Which still wasn't enough to pay the entrance fee to get your monies back.
That's fine. I don't think we were going to do another round of that. That was too complicated for everyone. It was too confusing.
It's too much. Maybe something a little simpler, like the odds and evens on the D20. Yeah, next time. What happens after that?
So after that, Storm decides there are better ways to make money in the way of scams and cheating and such. So he decides to use his very high charisma to gather a crowd on his elevated pedestal, as he always does, and dare people to take his demon coin, which he knows cannot leave his person. Yeah. He's the only one that can hold it.
Yeah.
So he gathers a crowd and invites people to jump up and try and take this coin from him. So the first one was it was someone fairly young, fairly fit.
Yeah, like an average person, yeah.
Jumps up. It was a Dex. It was Dex competition? Or sleight of hand competition. Which Storm easily beat him and didn't have to use any trickery or anything like that.
Yeah.
The next character, which I really enjoyed this part where we were all playing
strangers,
just random strangers.
Yeah.
There was no, you weren't playing your character anymore. You just picked up a random along the way and
you just
started
made
playing.
Someone up and played them.
So Eisen's player was playing as an elderly man.
Yes.
Nicknamed Old Jimmy.
I don't know if that was just like a random stranger. That character seems to come up a lot.
recurring Eisen character, yes.
So Old Jimmy pops up and naturally being quite old, didn't make the sleight of hand challenge, and Storm decided to boot him off the stage.
And he broke his back when he fell off that stage.
Yeah. Oh, we should mention as well that he, in the process of starting this, he flipped the coin.
Ah, yes.
And landed on the evil side. So,
accidentally, by the way.
Yeah, accidentally.
Accidentally.
Quote unquote.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't believe it was.
I think it might have been.
No.
Because he was like, I flicked the coin. He was like, oh, wait a second.
But it was too quick. It was flick. Oh wait.
I mean, he did ask afterwards whether it counted or not, so he gave me the option to be like, it did or it didn't.
Yeah. It definitely felt like an absent-minded thing because he just wanted to like scam people with it, but of course he flicked it up. That's like a normal thing you would do with a coin, right? Especially if you're like doing a trick with a coin, you would flick it up, right?
Yeah.
So I think it definitely felt like it was just an absent-minded thing he was doing, and then he realized until too late.
Yeah. So I'm not sure because he said that he had some evil thing in mind that he could do.
Yeah.
And I think it must have been the kicking people off the stage as they lost.
Being an asshole to these people, yeah.
So booted old man Jimmy off the stage and possibly broke his back. And upon requesting his 20 talons, Jimmy could only produce 19. So this did not bode well for old man Jimmy. Requesting the final talon off old Jimmy was like shaking him up and was threatening him and
that poor old man,
trying to see if he was hiding anything. So I snuck in Barris, who was another character that I'd built previously. And so I had a full stat block for him, a full character sheet ready to go. So he's this big Minotaur barbarian that stood in, and it turns out he's got a soft spot. He's loved by the community.
He's a big softie.
Yeah. So he makes soup for the elderly, and he helps people across the street, and he helps everyone in the community. So he steps up to protect old Jimmy and challenge Storm. And surprise, surprise, he couldn't get the coin.
Yes.
But at this point, he's accused him of cheating, which is where it all got a little bit heated between Storm and Barris, and the whole crowd turning against Storm is like
The dead silence.
yeah. He's like, oh, who's gonna look at this guy trying to accuse me of cheating? Everyone's like, I think you're cheating.
Kick that old man on the ground. That's pretty dick move.
Everyone loves Barris. Why are you trying to be a dickhead to him?
Kevin role played the old woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, role played an old Hispanic woman.
Yeah, I was like, no, she's Spanish. This Mexican lady. Yeah, that was great to see.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny watching the crowd finally turn on Storm when he's so used to having the crowd on his side.
Yeah, this is evil Storm, so it was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Man, as a side note, so Barris, right? You notice how one of the players immediately jumped on bare ass?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is why I always do a second check on every name that I come up with. I'm like, can they make fun of the name? Can they make fun of it? And I always, if there's some kind of dumb pun or some kind of way they can make fun of it, I'm just like, I'm changing the name. I'm not having this happen. Yeah. I'm so sick of it happening.
So I think that was a little bit on me. I think I hadn't prepared anything like that. So I had his name, but I hadn't in my head prepared myself to say his name. So I think I might have accidentally emphasized the ass part of it, where it should have been Barris, not bare ass. So that was a little bit on me. I'll take full responsibility for that one. But it's Barris.
Yeah. So he accuses him of cheating, and then they almost get into a fight, right?
Well, Storm decides that he is gonna challenge him in fisticuffs, basically, and challenge him in a physical fight, which he's a level 10 barbarian. Even with his strength potions, I think he would struggle to beat that.
Yeah, I think so too.
So that escalated a little bit, and they were about to get into a fight when Thunder, well, we didn't know it was Thunder at this point, stepped in, jumped up on stage and just straight up grabbed Storm by the throat, just absolutely emasculating him straight off the bat, and then lifts up his shirt, reveals his tattoo, and then we reveal that he's Storm's brother.
Yeah, the half demon.
Yeah,
and there's this kind of emotional moment between the two, where Thunder's like, "What did you do? Like, what have you done to yourself?" And I could see in Lewis's eyes, like, oh shit. And I think Storm replies, "I did it for the people, for the tribe, or for the town, or whatever." And I think that could have been a little more emotional, but whatever, it's fine. We can get back to that later. I think that was fun for me to RP because it's rare I get the opportunity to play as someone from your guys' backstories. Because I think it hasn't really happened that much yet. It happened with like Rio, who wasn't exactly part of Storm's backstory to begin with, but other than that,
Snow's
backstory to begin with. Other than that, I don't think I've really played anyone else's.
Yep. What about the Prince, the Pale Shadow? You forgetting about the Pale Shadow? You don't remember that?
I barely played that guy though. I think
that was like a high. That was a high tension moment.
Definitely. But I think in this moment it's going to be for an extended period of time rather than a one-off conversation kind of thing.
Mm.
So it's fun doing that. It was definitely fun playing as Uchi, the Pale Shadow, but it wasn't for a long time. I really want to dig into that because there's so many characters from you guys' backstories that I haven't had the chance to fully explore yet, and it's like I want to get into that, but I feel like introducing so many of them at the same time is gonna cause like issues, like with the character arcs going on at the same time. But it seems you guys are kind of fine with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously too many new characters will be a bit overwhelming, I feel like, but you can still explore backstories without introducing new characters.
So you're just trying to start doing that now? Is that what you're saying?
It's always been in the back of my head, but I don't think it's rare that I get the opportunity to do it. But I think now that you guys are out in like a fresh area, it's gonna happen more often.
Okay.
Just as a heads up, I guess. So he strangles him.
Yeah, so he's mid stranglehold of Storm when Snow, well, I think Oasis started it, where she wanted to intervene and wanted to somehow stop this from happening. And
Yeah,
I was sitting there like, oh, like she's about to hit the fan, like she's gonna reveal herself. We're gonna be on the run trying to protect Oasis because everyone knows there's a blue genasi out there now. Like, I was
You were
shitting
ready,
bricks.
I mean, I commend her for making the attempt, but then I told her that you can't cast quietly, so it would have revealed that there's a caster. Maybe not a face, but revealed that there was a caster in the crowd. And then she kind of thought back, you know what? I'm more important than Storm in this scenario. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to reveal myself.
I think for context, a lot of the party members were out of earshot or out of ice. Like they were far enough away that they couldn't really see what was going on exactly. They just saw this armored dude pick up Storm by the throat. And yeah, we were kind of like raring for a fight as that was happening.
Yeah. I mean, the reactions from the party were great, because Tokul, he gets up from his like bench or whatever because he was drinking, and he just starts fucking running towards Storm and Thunder. He's ready to just go straight in. And Snow, he takes out an arrow and he knocks it and pulls it back and fires, which I think, what did you roll?
Roll a 21
Yeah.
total.
Yeah, and it just kind of dinks off his plate armor. So it was good to see. But you guys have definitely kind of embroiled yourself in another issue now.
Oh, goody. add it to the list, boys.
It's just one more thing. It's minuscule compared to everything else you guys have encountered so far. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where all these things lead to, because right now we have all these open plot threads. I don't think we've really closed too many of them, at least like conclusively. So I think that's something we should look forward to in the future.
Continue.
So after that, there was, we wrapped up pretty soon after that. So
Yeah.
they had a little bit of an intimate moment where, as you said, Thunder asks Storm what he's done and gives him the opportunity to escape. Makes a bit of a performance to make it look like he just slipped away, and then Storm disappears and disguises herself, and then we all meet up at the tavern again, and
That's where it ends.
that's where we ended. So it was pretty short session, but I feel like we did do a fair bit.
How long
This
did
session.
it go for? Like 3.5 hours?
It was just before 12 we finished.
We've started at what, 8 p.m.
Yeah, like almost right on it.
It's around 3 to 4 hours, 3.5 to 4
Yeah.
hours. So I think, in at least relative to recent sessions, that's kind of average length now. But I miss the long ones. I'm not gonna lie. I say it every session.
I don't think I was here for long ones. I think, or maybe initially,
Yeah.
because when I finished uni, I was able to get here by 7. But then, work.
Real life happens.
Work
The
takes hold.
6-hour average sessions, dude. And then the all-day sessions. We haven't had a proper all-day session since the very first one. Like a proper, like, a session that went for all day. I think we've tried to do it, but like we don't start the session until like pretty far into the day, and then it just turns out to be a normal session. So yeah, I hope we can get one of those up and running at least before the year ends.
Yeah, I know me and you are down for all day sessions. I don't know about everyone else though.
For me, it just depends on time. As long as there's enough notice, I can make it work. But I've like my weekends book out from like a month out. So I just need enough notice.
You need an update.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall, from that session, Aiden, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I think it was like I said, it was good to let loose a little bit and have that little bit of downtime. And I was making a very conscious effort to try and connect with people, because Ryan has been very distant and very subdued from the party. So I was trying to make an effort to open up a little bit and have him connect with someone, because he is alone. He is dealing with a lot of shit at the moment. So he does need to open up, and I was making a very conscious effort to make that happen with Storm, because I feel like he's closest with Storm. So that was a big part of my goal this session, was just try and open up, try and have a connection, try and foster that relationship a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
Kevin?
good. That's good. Yeah, I thought overall the session was pretty fun, pretty good. Yeah, the only thing I would have complained about was probably the drug thing, but we already glossed over that, so that's fine. But yeah, I think it was pretty fun. I don't think some of the other players might say the same. I think Eisen and Oasis and maybe Maple, like they weren't as heavily involved as the rest of the party. So yeah, but like sometimes some players are just out of the focus, and it does really depend on the player themselves, like how willing they are to involve their character in what's happening. I know Maple like did stuff here and there, but he wasn't like in the thick of it, I guess. Like Ryan, Storm, and Snow was.
Yeah. Oh, I need to apologize to Maple real quick, because he wanted to do something and I completely forgot about it until he mentioned it again. He wanted to check out the Coliseum, which is also known as the Blood Rink. But because I got so caught up in the Storm and Thunder moment, and then after that it just completely slipped my mind. And then he was like, "Hey, the Coliseum," and I felt so bad. So this is my apology.
We walked right past that. I think the characters Storm and I keep mixing up Storm and Snow. Snow and Maple walked right past that. They walked past Eisen and Toku, who were already at the entrance there. He could have gone in at that time, right?
I think his main concern was taking care of you at that moment.
I would have been fine. I would have made it somehow.
Doubtful. What do you guys think is going to happen? I guess not next week, but the week after. The week after, the week after that,
yeah,
right?
We probably won't have a session for a little while.
What do you guys think is going to happen then?
You go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm keen to see a little bit more of that tension between Storm and Thunder. I think it's interesting introducing a little bit of danger for Storm's character, because he sort of runs headlong into danger and doesn't expect too many consequences to occur. So it's interesting seeing that immediate threat to Storm's life, and I'm interested to see how that's going to change his character in Huria at the moment, with people actively hunting him, and they know who they're looking for now. They know it's him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I can add to that. I think when Albert mentioned that he was kind of hoping that the reveal of Thunder, Storm's brother, and you were hoping that would be a bit more emotional. I think the player themselves doesn't have a lot of experience being more emotional, because they're more like in the moment, kind of hedonistic type stuff, just do whatever's fun, mess around, that type of thing. But when things get kind of serious, like, yeah, there's not a lot of times when the character or the player gets to do that. So it probably was caught more off guard and didn't really know what to say in the moment, which is probably why it wasn't as emotional as you were hoping it to be.
I agree it was off guard, but I definitely think Lewis is aiming for that more serious character development. I think he just wasn't ready for it at that specific moment.
Yeah, no,
I know he really wants to go in that direction though.
That's what I'm saying. He just hasn't had enough opportunities to really get into it properly.
Okay.
So that's why, you get a bit of floundering here and there, but it's all in the process of improvement.
Does that count as us shitting on Lewis? Because we haven't done that yet. We haven't shit on anybody yet, so we need to do that.
Gotta drop bombs.
Yeah, we're running out of ammunition here.
It's not really a bomb, really. I don't have any complaints about anyone in particular. Well, that means neither do you. So
Yeah, I know. I was hoping Aiden would have something to complain about.
It's not. I don't know. It was a weird, not really a backflip, but with Storm and Oasis turning into a cockroach, and then Storm suddenly being okay with a cockroach just running all over him, but not okay with turning into it. I was like, it's a bit of a disconnect there, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be...
Took you out?
Not took me out, but it was like, come on, man, you can't.
You can't do that.
You don't want to turn into it, but you're fine with it crawling all over your face. Like,
it's
what's the
inconsistent. It's inconsistent. Yeah.
It breaks immersion a little bit. Yeah, so fuck you, Lewis. You suck. Got him. We got it. Did a podcast quota for the week.
Keen for the complaints.
Aiden, would you say the podcast has had a positive impact on the sessions so far?
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone. I think you touched on it the second podcast, I think, where you were talking about people want to know what they're doing, what's being said about them, what are they doing wrong, what can they improve on, and you can do that without a podcast, but we just didn't do that. We didn't communicate. We didn't say what we didn't like, what we could change. We just didn't have that open communication. So it was good, and I thoroughly enjoy hearing what people did enjoy and what they didn't enjoy about what I've done, so that I can tailor a little bit more to make it more enjoyable for everyone. So I don't think anyone wants to be doing stuff that people just hate. They want to make things enjoyable as much as possible.
Yeah, because most of the time they just don't know that they're doing it. Yeah.
So like coming back to Ryan starting off as Ryan Reynolds, that like I didn't know that was like I was just drawing on something from real life quite rather heavily. I'll admit it was very heavy, but I didn't realize that was going to be that immersion breaking for you guys. And like I did understand that you didn't like it a bit later on, so like I said, I was making plans to change that so that he wasn't Ryan Reynolds anymore. But the podcast, like I said, really gave me the kick up the ass to get it done.
When's the name change happening? When?
No,
when's the name change?
I've actually got backstory as to why his name's Ryan Wilson. So
it's already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened. I
Cool.
ex machinated his name. So to add a bit of context to it, essentially he 9 years ago he was a part of a raiding party, or he infiltrated into Denethor on a secret mission to eliminate some rebels or some spies out of Denethor, and the mission was to eliminate these spies. So they approached a town, they scoped the town out, and then they infiltrated the town. Now Ryan, having eliminated the target, but refused to eliminate the civilians that were there. He had a moral issue with, taking out these innocent people that had nothing to do with the spies. They had nothing to do with the war. They were just innocent. And this didn't go down well with his commanding officer, Major Cheskanova, I think had made his name. So as a result of that, this bit of commotion, he's awoken one of the civilians. The civilians have attacked Ryan, which is where the scar has come from. And then they've eliminated everyone in this town and essentially covered it up and spread propaganda to shift blame away from Ubania towards a likely culprit. Yeah. So as a result of that, his court-martial was determined that he would be moved away from combat, moved away from
active duty and determined that he would then spend the rest of his serving military life as a delegate towards other cultures, other countries, and essentially spy on them in the process of doing that. And the best way, or the most effective way to do that would be to change his name so that he didn't seem too conspicuous. So his name changed from Ryan Veronich to Ryan Wilson, and he's been Ryan Wilson for 8 years.
So he's in like some sort of fantasy witness protection type deal.
Well, it's more just to make it so crossing borders. You know, you've got a Ubanian name crossing into Danathar. They're going to be a little bit suspicious. But you look at the name Ryan Wilson, you go, oh, that's it's just some random.
I think at the very start, like some NPCs would be like, Ryan Wilson, that's a weird name. I like that. I kind of like that part. It's not so emergent, but I like that like Ubanians are so out of touch with what they think is not Ubanian that they kind of still mess it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though that's probably not what you're intending, Aiden. Like you're probably thinking this is a name.
No, it works. I mean, Ubania is basically like Soviet Russia, right? That's where the inspiration came from. So communism countries, I think, stereotypically are just far bit behind times in what they think is normal and what they do that they believe is normal.
Yeah,
so
I think that
it
really adds. Yeah, it really adds to the depth of the nation because they're just so out of touch with certain things that it just takes some time for them to catch up, or they may never catch up because they willingly are ignorant of everything else. They're racist.
Speaking of Ubania, next week, where Aiden, you're hosting the one shot, right? You're doing the one shot.
Yeah.
And it's set in Ubania, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, because you've been doing a lot of world building for Ubania recently, right?
Yeah. So I think that started mainly with me trying to build Ryan's backstory, because I poked and prodded at you for as much information about Ubania as possible, and I don't think you'd gotten that far into building Ubania. So I was like, I have to build off something.
It's mostly, I think Ubania is mostly my love child, because I think at the very start, Ubania wasn't a thing. I think Albert only had the idea that Denethor was at war with another nation, like this eternal war.
Yeah.
And I remember we came up with Ubania because we wanted something that sounded foreign, right? And so we kind of turned towards Slavic things.
Yeah, it's like Albania, except Ubania.
Yeah. And then I had this idea, it's this kind of like Prussia, very like Soviet, Polish, German, kind of almost Nazi regime, right? And like this kind of war machine. It's kind of evolved since then from being like this coal calculating thing. But a lot of its original spirit is still there. And I think I built on Ubania a little bit when I ran my Ubanian one shot, or I guess you could say 3-shot. Wasn't a very good one, but I think I built a lot on like what they were like as people. And then I've written a few pieces, some of which is not official, I guess, which you probably would have gotten from Albert. To get the thing right. But yeah, if you want to make it your baby, I'm happy to pass it off to you. Sometimes I'll have some ideas because sometimes I just write stuff, some lore stuff for fun, and then I just give it to Albert, and then he just decides whether to include it or not.
I might have a chat about your 3-shot then a bit later, so I can I can gather what's been put down already. Because
I think you probably would have gotten everything already, because there wasn't, even though I built on it a little bit, it wasn't that much. So I think Albert might have already given you the notes for that.
I gave him most of them.
Yeah, which I think if you go off that, that's probably all you need, because most of it, I didn't go into much lore during the 3-shot. It was mostly like, we're in northern Ubania. There's some stuff we're at war with Denethor, and we're kind of trying to take back some land that they lost. And there's some weird there's some weird monster, and it was like going on a monster hunt. That's all it was. It wasn't actually like going into like the politics and stuff like that.
So it was very far away from like the main city or anything of the sort.
Right. So I think just to give a little bit of a teaser. So I've built this basically off. So you posted a little bit of lore about how Emperor Christoph isn't actually eternal. The line does get passed down, but it's not passed down through blood. It's passed down like randomly, I suppose, would be the best way to describe it. So I'm building a little bit off that because I remember.
Yeah, well, we want to keep that intentionally vague because I like the idea of having a unreliable narrator. Because if you notice, everything that's written, at least by me, is written by someone in game, like in universe. So they have their own biases. They're only working off what they know, and I think that notion you get where they just pick people randomly is, I think he's a Denetharian agent. Similar to what the Night's Watch is, but it's like a secret night order, right? And they have agents all across Axia. And he's going off a secondhand account of someone else telling him something. So whatever that is in the letter might not actually be true, or might only be partially true. And then there's a written account, like a culture piece that I write, it's written by a Hurrian scholar. And it's about the Ubanian bias towards Christoph, how they think he's like some Jesus come again descendant from heaven, come to save everyone.
Yeah.
So basically, just trying to keep that vague. So we really don't know the nature of Christoph, if he's just like a different person and he just mantles the name, or he's like this eternal god, right? He's this god king come from heaven to rule over his people.
So
but I want to make that creepy and mysterious.
Yeah, I am still keeping that vague, but I'm just introducing, I think, a little bit of suspicion into it, I suppose, as to what actually happens without, because it's very secretive, obviously, about how that actually occurs. So yeah, it's not much of that's actually going to get revealed, because you can't have people knowing about all of that, because that's how you lose your secrets.
That's how you lose your life. That's how you lose your head.
Yeah. So
especially in Ubania.
Yeah, so I think that's going to stay pretty vague for the most part, but it's just, I feel like you'll be able to draw conclusions yourself as to what's actually happening without me actually saying anything.
That is the main goal of having an unreliable narrator. You make your own interpretation, and that might not necessarily be right, but it's also not necessarily wrong, because you don't know everything.
Okay. So you're cool with us playing 5 the same class if we want to?
I think you'll lose it yourself a little bit, because it is going to make things a little bit frustrating for you guys. I'm fine with it. You can do it if you want, but
it's a fun idea.
I honestly don't prefer doing like the same class thing. Like, this is like, I feel like this is going to be like a serious lore piece that we can do some world building off of, and I would prefer not to do kind of like a joke thing for that. But if it was like a stupid like joke one shot or something like that, then I'm all for it. But for something like this, probably not.
It definitely depends on context, right? Because if we're like part of, say, like some kind of crossbow like regiment or whatever, or part of like a mage battalion, then obviously we're all going to be like wizards or whatever. And even if we all play the same class, you can still branch out into different archetypes or what are they called, like wizard circles or different types like that. So I don't think it takes away too much if you do it right, honestly.
Yeah, but are we gonna do it right?
No, definitely not.
Don't think so. Don't think so.
You're right. We're not gonna do it right. Okay, so you're just sending info later on?
Yeah. I'll send a little bit of I'll send the backstory, so what you know and everything, which is where we had a discussion in the Discord about a cleric that can a cleric cast without a tongue. So that's where that's coming from. So you'll know a bit of information about that character.
We're gonna have tongues, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You guys will be able to.
Okay.
NPC.
Just making sure.
I think because we're not actually having an Axia session next week, I'm not too sure what we can do for the podcast. Obviously, we can talk about your one shot, but I would actually prefer that you come on again so we can get some like further insights on like your experience running the one shot. I know like twice in a row seems like a bit kind of dodge, but I would like to talk to you again, like after you've run the one shot and like what was going through your head when you made some certain decisions and things like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a similar setup to today, I believe. I just have to check if I'm free, basically. But yeah, be cool.
Are you cool with that, Albert?
I'm cool with that.
All right.
We
We'll set something up.
We definitely should have had like Lewis be this session and Ryan be next session, because it just adds they're more related to these sessions more. But
Yeah, I think because I had no idea that you were making a one shot until yesterday. So, and we had already slotted you in like the week and a half before. So it was just kind of bad timing.
Yeah.
But
if you can come on twice, I'm fine with that.
yeah, look, no one listens to it but the party anyway, so it doesn't matter. We can do whatever we want.
True. I mean, if you don't come on twice, I think Kevin and I will just end up talking about old sessions after we do a recap of your one.
Yeah, we like to do a quick discussion, and yeah, we're planning like if we didn't have actual session content, we'll do like context dive into older sessions and stuff like that.
Real quick, Kevin, last week your critique was that there wasn't enough culture vibe in the last session. Do you think that's been rectified, or is there more that's missing? Because there's a few more things I haven't talked about.
Gonna drop a bomb on you. Not rectified. We didn't really explore like traditions and stuff, or like how do I say this? But like we didn't really do anything that was like particularly Hurrian, right? We went to gamble.
Gambling is Hurrian. You literally can't gamble anywhere else in this continent.
Okay, well I didn't know that. Know that.
Yeah. What else? You want sandstone architecture? You want doors with no doors?
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah,
everywhere?
give me that. Yeah, give me that.
Because I did. Maybe you weren't listening.
Give me that. Give me more of that. Emphasize it.
There are a few sayings, like waking up with a scorpion in your bed. That's a classic, but I just haven't gotten to using that yet, because Olmay used to use that, but she isn't around right now. Are you guys ever going to chase up that Assassin's Guild thing? Where you're like, we're going to go to Hurrian and you can find that little assassin's hideout. Because I think you did, but it didn't really come to anything, right?
Yeah, that was like the initial reason, right?
Yeah. Anyway, there's definitely more, but I have been trying a little bit more to kind of
like
go into it.
Even like small stuff, like just fucking food or something like that. Or like
Hungry.
Obviously gambling is a Hurrian thing now that you've said it, but it wasn't really clear that you couldn't gamble anywhere else in the world. You know what I mean?
I guess so, yeah.
So, and because in real life, gambling, you can gamble anywhere, right?
Sure.
So gambling to me, like my concept of gambling and, you know, where you can gamble, kind of translated into, you know, what Snow thought of gambling. It's like, oh, you can just do this in like big cities or whatever. And I bet in some taverns there are some form of gambling, but probably not to the extent that. Yeah. So even though you said it was Hurrian, it didn't really feel particularly Hurrian, if you get my meaning.
I got you.
So it wasn't really emphasized that this was like particular. This is a cultural thing. Like you
Okay.
could have had an NPC like, hey, come play this special game only here. You can only play it here. You know, we get people from all over the world. And also, you probably could have played up like the rich people aspect, because like the entry fee was like 15 gold, right? But obviously you could pay more to get more chips depending on how much you're willing to burn that night. And I was hoping to see some like high rollers like raking it in or losing their fortune in like these high stake games or something like that.
I mean, it could still happen. I think just at the moment, everything was happening so fast, right?
I mean, I was very tempted to put down 30 to see what happened, but I didn't end up doing that.
You should have.
I was like,
Should've gone
I
in.
was seriously so close.
Speaking of Hurrian culture, nowhere else has a coliseum. Nowhere else has airships. Nowhere else lives on a giant tortoise. Nowhere else does spice drugs. No other city moves. Hey, where's the culture?
Yeah.
What do you want? You want food?
I'm talking about the people, all right? I'm talking about the people.
We've talked
Tell
about
me about the people.
We talked about what kind of
What
clothes
do the
they
people
wear.
do? What kind of clothes do they? What kind of clothes? What are the kind of clothes they eat? What kind of food do they eat? What kind of rituals do they do during the day? Is there special holidays? You got sayings? Say the sayings, all right? Don't hold off on the sayings.
You want me
Make
to do
them
an
swear
info
in
dump at the
Hurrian.
start of the
Make them-
session? You want me to do an info dump?
No, don't info dump. Just do it in the session, okay? Stop holding back.
Tell
Stop
me
holding
how,
back.
Tell me how you would do that in the middle of a session. By the way,
Oh,
these
shit.
people are eating this. By the way, and how?
You could have
They
like
have a
we're
holiday.
walking.
How am I
walking
gonna tell
past-
you, hey, we
we're
have a
walking,
holiday?
We're walking past a restaurant, and you can smell like the food. You can smell the curry or the kebabs or whatever flowing through, and then there's people eating inside. Or you can have someone, you can overhear a conversation saying like, "I can't wait until this holiday or that holiday." You know, it's not that hard.
That doesn't happen because the party is always doing something, and you can't just be like, "Hey, by the way, this random thing is happening off screen that has no interest in the plot itself." It just doesn't work.
It's creating atmosphere, right? That's what you wanna emphasize the atmosphere. That's how you create atmosphere.
So I can talk about architecture. I can talk about how they export food because they can't grow on this giant ass turtle, but that's not enough. That's not enough, is it, huh?
Hell yeah, gotta be
It's
more.
never enough. It's never enough. Hey, fuck you.
This is the bomb. This is the bomb.
Alright, we got the bomb out of the way. We got the
Dropping
bomb out of
bombs
the
on
way.
each other.
This is intense.
Yeah, that was it. That was the bomb that we needed to go through. Is there anything else you wanted to ask Aiden, Kevin?
Yeah, I think we've gone over. Like, do you have any feedback on the podcast itself? Like how we're like running things here? Anything else you wanted us to particularly touch on? Specifically, anything you wanted to talk about in general about D&D? Like any questions or anything like that?
I don't think anything in terms of the podcast at the moment. I'm pretty satisfied with it, how it is. Like I said, I enjoy hearing feedback in general and just how people reacted, because you don't often get that feedback. So I'm pretty satisfied with what's being said and what's being done. In terms of D&D, well, like, how do you have any feedback for me in terms of RP? Is there anything that I can do?
You don't turn this back on us. I'm
turning it back on you. I'm turning it back.
No, I think you're making good strides into creating Ryan into a actual living and breathing character, and yeah, you're doing the one thing that I want every player to do, is to like just think about the character and think about the backstory and stuff like that, and it'll translate well into RP because you have something to work off of. So I think that's great. I think everyone should do that, but you know what? I take my wins where I can get them.
You still want Oasis to a voice, huh?
Yeah, she should do a voice, but you know what? I don't really mind it. I've kind of mellowed out a little bit, because at least she's like, when she has RP moments, you can tell that she's kind of like getting into it a little bit.
Yeah, she's definitely there. She's just not saying it in
Yeah,
a
and
voice.
she's probably still trying to get comfortable role playing, like Aiden said, like that initial period of like, this is probably not totally what I was expecting, but then you kind of like get into the groove, and but yeah, I think she probably just needs more opportunities to like properly role play, because right now she's just too busy hiding away, right? So
Yeah.
maybe she meets someone. Like I liked the moment she had with the bartender Ty at the Drunkard. I think that was like, we're starting to open her up as a character, and starting to see the players' role playing chops come into play. But yeah, just not enough opportunities before. But I'm sure they will come.
Yeah, I think so too. Going back to Ryan, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the new voice because I think I mentioned this earlier, but when the voice came out, I was like, oh, it's no longer, my immersion is here. It's not being taken away anymore. But I don't think it was just the voice. I think it was a culmination of all the things we kind of messaged each other about, like the extra backstory, the village you were talking about, the name change. Like it was this combination of all that where I'm like, okay, I don't look at this person and see Ryan Reynolds and my immersion breaks, but now it's good. It's real good. Like I enjoyed it a lot actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been a wild ride coming from not knowing anything about D&D, from like, you know, you see pop culture references from like, I don't know, Big Bang Theory or whatever, where they do it occasionally, but it's nothing like what you actually do, to actually getting involved and being a part of it and then getting into it. It's been a wild ride because I didn't know what to expect starting out, so it's been interesting garnering expectations the way that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we played a lot more role play heavily than I think other parties seem to do. Like, at least from what I read online, they tend to be like just this super generic, go on an adventure, get loot, go home type deal. And you know, here and there you get like actual role play moments, but they don't seem to be like kind of leaning into it as far as we're doing it. But feel free to clap back at me if I'm wrong on that. I'm just going off what I've seen online.
No, I mean that pretty much sums up my original expectations. That's almost exactly what I thought was just going to happen, which is why I didn't delve super far into a backstory initially, and I just came up with a character that I thought would be helpful, essentially.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I agree with Kevin in that our campaign is very different, or at least it seems different from the generic campaign. Like we go in heavy with the roleplay, and online you see the people just kind of playing, having fun, rolling dice, getting loot, whatever. Aiden, would you say you prefer this type over the other type, or there's no?
I don't think I have a preference. I mean, I still enjoy that aspect of it, but I've come to enjoy the RPing aspect as well. Now that I've gotten into it, it took a while, but it's now that I'm getting there, I'm enjoying both aspects of it. It's fun to roll super high. It's fun to do stupid damage and make your DM hate you.
Next fight always is so much harder.
But it's always good. Yeah, it's always good to roll high on skills or characters.
Feels good. Yeah.
But then it's also enjoyable to RP now as well. So I've enjoyed that change and that shift.
Is there a balance that we should be looking for here?
I don't know if I'm the best person to ask that, having just gotten into this.
You've been in for a while, right?
No, I mean into the RPing aspect of it.
Yeah.
I haven't found that balance that I enjoy just yet.
Okay, so we'll see as we move forward.
Coming months.
I'm down for that. I think we should wrap it up here, right?
Yeah, it seems like a good spot to leave it off.
Thank you very much, Aiden, for coming on and talking about Ryan and the campaign.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. We might have you again very soon.
Yeah, next week maybe if you're free.
Double guest.
All right. We're FarKingdoms.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.